Well, hello, it's Friday night, and I am nothing if not punctual. I tend to be early for things. How about you? I almost signed on live early, but I thought, nope, I'll wait right till 7. And tonight I am going to prove that you're lovable by sharing some Stoic philosophy with you that helped me regain my feelings of worthiness. But before I go into that, I really want to quickly let you know that you're invited to my birthday party. It's tomorrow. That's Saturday, January 18th at 1 p.m. PST in Surrey. And you can go to my website, click on About and Events to see more information, or just send me a message and I will let you know about it. I also wanted to give you some news that I might be transitioning my live stream, weekly live stream to Wednesday mornings because Friday evenings are, they're hard to make work sometimes with my children and stuff. So Wednesday morning might work better for me. And I'm thinking about doing that, but don't worry. If you love to listen and you're only available on Friday nights, then you can still listen to all my past live streams on my Patreon channel. That's patreon.com/Annie Temple. And you can see all of my past live streams there. So, we're talking today about why you're lovable. And how I learned that you're lovable was by learning that I'm lovable because I went through a period of time, years really, where I really struggled with feelings of unworthiness. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I came to experience that and then tell you and teach you how I overcame it. Because I feel like it's easier to understand and have context for your own situation when you hear the experience of another person. And you may have heard this story before from me, but for years I was very, very sick and I was in the hospital. And when I wasn't in the hospital, I was in bed a lot. I was very, very unwell. I had my large intestine removed. I was diagnosed with Crohn's, spondyloarthritis, and then a couple other autoimmune conditions. And I had young children whose lives I was pretty much missing out on. And I was in a marriage that was not very healthy. I don't blame my ex or anything. I don't think we were a good match at all, but we were young, at least now I think we were young. I was 28 when I met him. But to me now at 51, that was young. And it just wasn't a really healthy relationship. And then on top of it, with my illness, I really felt like a burden. And my partner was not the affectionate type. He wasn't the type to show tenderness. And really, out of everything during that time, tenderness was what I really, really desired. I remember being in the hospital and having friends and family come and say things to me like, "If there's anything I can do for you, please tell me. What can I do for you?" And I would say, "There's nothing you can do. The doctors and nurses have it handled, and my husband's and my parents and his parents are taking care of the kids, and there's really nothing you can do." But in my head, I was begging them, "Please just reach out and just put your hand on my arm. Just gently touch me. Just rest your hand on my leg lightly for a little while, or pet my hair. I love to have my hair pet, you know? Show me some tenderness," because the only touch that I really received for years was from doctors and nurses, and a lot of it was painful and uncomfortable. And my children did hug me and give me love, and that's probably what helped me survive. But because of my surgeries, everyone had to just be so gentle with me. So I do believe, honestly, that it's a gift to have young children who will still put their arms around you and give you a hug and wrap their little pudgy arms around your neck and put their cheek against your cheek. It does fill up the love bank. It does. But when I was sick, I mean, a lot of the time my kids were far away. They weren't at the hospital with me, obviously. And when I was home with them, they were usually at their activities or being taken care of. And they just, you can't depend on your children for the touch and tenderness that you need. But I do feel like it did help me survive. So I'm just trying to paint a picture to you of how sick I was and how I felt touch starved. But it got worse than that, or the plot thickens. Um, I began to feel that I was a burden to my husband and my children. I even became suicidal. I started to fantasize about ways that I could kill myself because I felt like I was just a burden to everyone in my life, and on and on and on. But the biggest thing was that I felt that I was unlovable, unworthy of love because I was sick. I felt like I was a burden to anyone because I couldn't contribute. It was like, I can't have sex. I can't work. I can't cook a healthy meal for my children. I can't clean the house. I can't volunteer at my child's school. I can't attend the event that I already RSVP'd for. I can't. These are the thoughts that I had going through my head. And I felt like, who would want to be with someone who can't do anything? Who would want to be with someone with these scars on my stomach? Because now I have a permanent ostomy, which is a poop bag on my stomach. And I had that temporarily back during my severe illness as well. And who would love someone with a poop bag? Who would love someone with scars all over their stomach? There are so many things that I thought, who would love someone like me? I can't go to the pool, I can't go hiking, I can't, like, what a boring life for anyone who would be with me, you know? So this was what I thought about myself. I really considered myself to be unlovable, um, not worth anyone's time, or at least I didn't think anyone would consider me worth their time. And it's funny because I've always been into personal development, and so despite feeling that way and going through that, I would constantly stop myself with my negative thinking and try to find something to be happy about, grateful about, and switch my perspective. And that really served me as I started to heal. As I started to get better and I wasn't bedridden all the time, and I started to go longer periods of time without being hospitalized, I began to gain my confidence back and I began to feel worthy of love again. And like, maybe, perhaps somebody would want to spend their time with me or be in a relationship with me or whatever, just would love me. Maybe someone could love me because I'm not sick like I was anymore. But that wasn't the Band-Aid solution. That wasn't that didn't really that didn't really stick because, as you may know, especially if you have your own health conditions, health is a roller coaster. And I was healing, sure, but it was just the beginning of years of roller coaster health issues where I would be really good for a period of time and have hardly any health issues and just feel like I'm amazing, I'm healthy again, I'm doing so great. And then periods of time where I would be back and forth to the hospital again. And this went on for years and years until last year I got the permanent ostomy, the poop bag. And I just want to say thank goddess that I did a lot of this work, um, before I got the permanent poop bag. But something that really impacted me and that helped me because being sick over and over, and this is I guess I should explain this part. Every time I felt sick, every time I was bedridden again, every time I had to say no to events that I said I would be at or obligations that I said I would, um, totally do, I would be lying there in bed sick again, and all of those feelings of unworthiness would come back. All of those feelings of being unlovable and you know, a burden would just come flooding back. And my rational mind would be like, this isn't true. You're just thinking this because you're sick. But it didn't matter. I just had that sick feeling of shame in my stomach where I was just like, who would want to be with me? I'm not worthy of love. I'm unlovable. I just And I would feel like every time someone was like, "Do you need anything? Can I get you anything? Can I help you?" I would just be sad that, I was a burden to them. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional talking about this. And, instead of, realizing that they wanna help, I would feel like I was a burden, you know? So I really understand that feeling of being unlovable. And we all come to that feeling in different ways. But and I will talk about that a little more, but I want to get to the revelation for me. So, Stoicism was something I actually came to late in life, and I think that it should be taught in elementary schools, and it should be something that we are taught our whole lives. And if everyone went on Sunday mornings to a school where they were taught Stoicism, our world would be an incredible place. But I was reading about Marcus Aurelius and his life. He was a famous, well, famous, famous because of his books, I guess, but he is known as the greatest Roman emperor who ever lived. And the reason why is because he was a Stoic. And basically what Stoicism is it's a philosophy that of so philosophy, which I didn't even know what that meant for a long time, is a way of thinking. So it's a way of thinking. That's all it means. Philosophy is a way of thinking. So Stoicism is a way of thinking about life and about everything that happens to us in our lives as we go. And there are so many cool things about Stoicism, and I'm not going to go into them all, but something that stood out for me and that impacted me and made me realize that I'm not unlovable and completely transformed those experiences of that I go through when I'm sick now was this concept called the human condition. And if you've read my blog, you've probably read about this. I've written about this before. But basically, the human condition and the idea and the philosophy that we are all subject to the human condition made me realize that my illness actually doesn't belong to me. So, to explain that a little bit more, every single thing that happens to us is something that happens to humans. And Stoics believe, and I learned this from reading about Marcus Aurelius, that we are subject to our nature. And I always use the example of a snail. You see a little snail, they're like, inching along and in their shell, they've got their big shell, and a snail has snail problems. They get stepped on. They struggle to get long distances. They lose their shell. I don't know. Do they grow another one? I can't remember. But they have snail problems. They have snail diseases, and they're subject to the snail condition. Okay. And humans, we're subject to the human condition. And so my illness doesn't belong to me. It's not mine. It's part of being human. If it can happen to a human, it can happen to me. And it's not something that only I struggle with. Lots of people have Crohn's and spondyloarthritis and poop bags, and lots of people have scars and whatever else makes them feel that they're unworthy of love. Every single thing that happens to humans is the human condition. And I'm not just talking about health, it could be bankruptcy. I, you know, it could be our sexual orientation. Uh, Everything that happens to it, we get robbed, we get assaulted, uh, we go to war. Every single thing that happens to me or you, we get an STI, we get HIV positive, we're whatever it is. And no matter how shameful our society makes us feel about it, because our society does like to stigmatize things that are naturally human, but they are all naturally human. They're things that happen to humans. Snails don't go bankrupt. Snails don't get STIs, or maybe they do. I don't know. But their STIs are snail STIs. So humans are subject to the human condition, which means that every single one of us is not uniquely flawed. We're not flawed in any way whatsoever, really. Everything that we consider bad is only bad because we've decided that it's bad. So when I'm lying there sick and I'm feeling like I'm a burden and I'm unlovable and who could love me and who could want to be with me and all those feelings of shame, but that this is just human what I'm going through, right? So instead of asking why me? Why me? Why am I lying here? Why am I in pain? Why do I have a poop bag? We have to really ask why not me? Because if it can happen to humans, it can happen to me. The good news about that is that every good thing that happens to people we know or that we hear about in the news or on social media, every single good thing that can happen to a human, it can happen to us because we're all subject to the human condition. So, getting to the whole point of am I lovable or am I unlovable? Well, the reason I thought I was unlovable was because of my body shame and my health issues. And I can't because I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. But that didn't make me unlovable. This is so wonderful, right? Because it's just normal human shit that people go through. And I'm not the only one. So this was I I mean, in a way, when I'm saying it out loud now, it seems like obvious that we should know we're not the only one, right? Like, if I were to ask you a question, do you think that I don't deserve love because I have an ostomy bag? You would probably laugh or scoff, or be like, "Psst, no, of course you deserve love, Annie. Who cares about your poop bag?" Right? That's what you would think, right? However, there's thousands of people with poop bags who think that they're not worthy of love because they have a poop bag. There are thousands of people with STIs who think they're not worthy of love because they have an STI. Thousands of people with sexual dysfunction, or they've gone bankrupt, or they've never had a girlfriend or a boyfriend and they're scared to meet someone, or they have addiction. Every single person, whatever it is that they're dealing with that makes them feel like they're unworthy, you're not unworthy. You're just subject to the human condition. You're human. That's it. And if I'm lovable, then so are you. It's always easy for us to think about someone else's misfortune. A person gets Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, and we think, oh my goodness, I really feel for them. But we don't think they're unworthy of love. We never do, right? And yet, when it's our own condition, whatever our human condition is that makes us think that we're unlovable, we think, no, I'm unlovable because of this. It's weird, right? How we do that to ourselves. So, the first step, if there were a framework to realizing that you are lovable, is to first of all realize you're human and that there's nothing different from you about you from everyone else. No matter what flaw you believe that you have, it's really just something that happens to humans and it happened to you and you're still lovable and wonderful and human. And yeah, people are going to react differently to our shit. I could tell one person that I have a poop bag and they're like, that's the look on their face. And another person is like, oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. So how is that for you? And then I tell them, wow, well, honestly, I'm so happy because I was really suffering until I got my ostomy bag. And sometimes people are surprised that I could actually be happy that I have an ostomy bag. And I could take that on. But thankfully, I've healed enough that I don't. I don't take it on. I realize that they are just still in the same place that I was when I thought I was repulsive. And because they imagine if it was me, right? And also, when you talk about poop, it's kind of gross. People get grossed out by that. I get it. So, whatever your thing is, it might seem just horrendously unbeautiful or unlovable, or intolerable. And I'm going to tell you that it's not, because it's just your human condition. So I was going to say the things that I say to myself now when I'm feeling sick and those feelings start to come back, and it's like a trigger, right? It's trauma. This is what trauma does, and this is why we have to learn how to change the way we think so that we can heal. So yeah, I feel like I've healed from this and I'm doing great, but I can still catch myself going back to that feeling or that thinking when I get sick. But I'm able to come out of it because I tell myself these things. This is what I say to myself, and maybe you could say it to yourself. I say, this is natural. This does not belong to me. I am not the sickness. I am simply a human being experiencing one of the possibilities of human existence. This is a human disease, and I am a human being. My illness does not define who I am or what I am worth. And I just need to get through this episode. It will pass eventually. I just need to get through this episode as peacefully as I can. And this is something the kinds of things I just repeat to myself over and over. And what happened is I found that my episodes of sickness actually shortened. I wouldn't be as sick as long anymore. And I believe that those toxic feelings that I would get were hindering my ability to come out of my illness, my episodes of illness. And it's true, when we have those sick, toxic feelings, it's very hard for our bodies to heal. We're energetic beings, meaning we're made of energy. Everything in our body affects our mental, everything in our mental affects our body. It's all one, it's all the same. And if you're a person who believes in God, a non-dualistic God like I do, then we're all one. But I'm not going to get into that because that's a much deeper topic. So, whatever we're ashamed about, it's human nature. And it's not something we need to take on as a personal flaw. If you have something about yourself that you're ashamed about or that you feel makes you unlovable or unworthy of love, whether it's a physical issue or financial or mental, spiritual, whatever it is, whatever that flaw is, which is really just something that happens to humans, it does not make you unlovable at all. And you might be surprised, but there are thousands of people with exactly what you have who are loved, including you, because I love you. This is, this is something that I feel like I really wanna help people to overcome because I know how devastating it is when you feel that low about yourself. So, I'm really hoping that what I've talked about today has impacted you in a positive way. Some suffering from the human condition doesn't make us broken. It really only just makes us human. From one human to another. You must convince yourself that you are just a human being experiencing all the possibilities of your human existence, and that whatever you've previously considered flaws are not flaws and they do not make you unlovable. And then, if it helps, you can do something else that I've done. And I did talk about this in another live stream. It's an affirmation. And one of my favorite affirmations is I am lovable. I am lovable. I am lovable. I am worthy of love. It's weird, but if we say it enough, we actually start to believe it. And I think saying I am lovable, but also knowing that whatever it is that you previously thought made you unlovable is not something that makes you unlovable should hopefully help you embrace who you are and take some risks and get out there and meet people and connect with people. Something I just have to always say is we need more in-person connections. We need to see each other in person more often. Seeing faces on a screen is better than phoning or texting or emailing. It is better, but I think we really need to see each other in person, and that's something that's really lacking from my life, and I think it's lacking from a lot of people's lives. So, I want to encourage you to get out and hang out with people, socialize, force yourself to do it like I have to. And know while you are doing it that you are a worthwhile person and that anyone who has the opportunity to get to know you is very fortunate. So turn on your dazzle and show them how beautiful and wonderful you truly are. And in the meantime, have a great Friday and a great weekend. I hope you can come to my birthday tomorrow. It's in Surrey at Bozini's restaurant at 1 p.m. And I'm actually gonna be giving away a couple books. Well I can't say that we're gonna do a draw because I'm pretty sure that's against the law unless you get some kind of license. So we're not doing a draw. I hope to see you tomorrow. Mwah!